you know.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't even, because like I said, it's gonna go back to the shame thing. Is
Yeah.
because like, oh, if I'm making art, like I shouldn't have to like charge money for this.
I hate that.
You know,
I,
like
that is
and
like,
then,
you want to
like,
get me riled up.
the because like for me, I always had a struggle with like pricing things.
Right.
yeah.
Because like
You
don't
have
wanna,
to
like,
determine
still
what
have
you're
to-
yeah,
worth.
exactly.
pricing
Because
thing.
like you don't want to like, sometimes you're scared to like price so much because like, oh, they're not gonna take it, and then like, you know what I mean, like
Who?
I don't know, like I don't know why it was.
But I think part of that too is we're creating that reality because
Yeah.
we're thinking that we're not going to have the community or the audience that is going to flock to your talent and skill.
But then there's always somebody that's willing to pay that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
The world is limitless. Like it's infinite and finite, if that makes sense. Like it's infinite and like we can't even conceive of the crazy fucking possibilities of
Yeah.
life. And it's finite from the sense that it's always reciprocal. It's always as within, so without. So it's like, to your point of creating reality, if as within you're not, that vibration is not matching, you're just gonna receive what's going on in the inside world.
Yeah.
And that is like, once you become aware of it, it's like walking off the fucking cliff's edge. And it's like, you kind of go through a mini depression because you're like, there's no turning back. Floodgates are open. I have to be so fucking aware of what, because I know it now.
Yeah,
I
like-
know that I'm like,
Like once
holy
that
shit, my
once the
energy
glass
is-
shatters, it's just like there's no going
Yeah.
back. Like once you're
Yeah.
in there, it's just like, oh well, this is it. Like
Yeah.
you can't
Yeah.
unsee it.
Yeah, and it or unfeel it, right? And like I think that's the big part for me is it's back to your point of like embodiment with just getting down into those lower systems, and knowing that like the whole system needs to be in balance, right? Because then you can't be too fucking in the root and you
Yeah,
can't be
exactly.
too fucking in the lower systems because then you're not connected. So it is this crazy like flow of energy that is happening, and I think we just forget that this all lives inside of our fucking body. Like it's, we think of this like, oh, I'm creating this reality with my thoughts. That's like 50% of it. Like you also are creating it with your heart. Like what are you feeling around those things? And you're like, how I put it is like the brain is the electric field and the heart is the magnetic field. And so the heart is more lateral and horizontal, where the electric field is more of this like polar thing that's happening. And those two things together like create gravity. And this is like, I could go into this whole freaking podcast with Joe Rogan and Terrence Howard, and it's amazing. And
That's a good podcast,
It's
actually.
amazing. But point is like, and it's something that I've already been writing in my journals about for about 2 years. I have a huge art piece in line that's around this whole principle. And then he fucking drops his podcast, and I'm like, somebody fucking like finally put mathematics to what I've been like feeling in my body. And it's amazing. But point is, it's like, you know, if you can generate the thought or the vision, the third eye, you're using these kind of systems, I guess, up here to generate kind of the vision for what you're trying to bring into your life. Say it's fucking rent, right? You're like, oh fuck, it's coming up to the end of the month and I'm an artist and I gotta like fucking hustle, right? And you're like, okay, well, I'm going to envision the amount with my mind, but now I have to feel what it feels to already have that, right? Like I have to then cultivate. And I think this kind of goes all the way back around into the shame thing too, because it's like, what are the things that we all connect on in general is our feelings, right? Like our thoughts, there's too many words, there's too many like crazy fucking ways to describe something, but we all, when we say shame, like we all know, we feel it in our body, right? And so it's like, coming back more into the manifestation thing, when we feel like gratitude and we feel like, oh, I feel already so abundant and I feel so like cared for and supported and grateful that this money is literally already here, or it's coming for me essentially, then that's the magnetic field. And those two things together draw that reality inward. So that's why it's like, I think it's important to emphasize, because I think a lot of the manifestation culture that at least I fucking follow on Instagram is just like very quantum from the head, very like I just vision and manifest it and everything. It's like, no, it's like it's the head, it's the heart, it's the body, it's the action.
Because I've experienced that before too. It's like the feeling.
Yeah.
Because I remember when I told you this before, this story.
What story?
So when we So this was probably, I would say 4, 5, 6 years ago, maybe. Me and Felicia and a couple other friends, we went to a meditation class. And then during that time, I was like, I just quit my job.
Yeah.
Like, it was my first year quitting my job.
Yeah.
And so, like, I was, like, stressing out on, like, money. This was December.
Yeah.
And then, like, I was like, fuck, how am I going to pay my bills next month? Like, I'm already into my head, like, going into meditation. And I was just like, that's all I could think about. I was just like, I'm stressing about money and blah, blah, blah. And then after the class, everybody decided, like, oh, let's go have brunch. In my mind, I was just like, fuck.
Got money for
Like, yeah. And
I'll
like,
go anyways.
yeah, basically, I was just like, fine, I'll go. I was like, whatever. So we went to Grateful Gardens. And then when I remember thinking, like, just going into, like, through, like, the restaurant, right? I'm just like, fuck. Like, how am I going to pay for this? But I was like, all right, I have a credit card. So, like, let's use the credit card.
Thank you, credit cards.
And then
I will pay you all back once I'm a millionaire.
Exactly. And then I sat down, and then I was like, I had this feeling and thought in my head. I was like, I don't care how much this meal is gonna cost. Like, I actually, like, felt that. Like, I don't care. I know I have credit cards, so I can pay at least this, whatever this is. And then, like, I just had, like,
I have
that
more than enough, right?
Exactly. So I have, like, very open, just, like, grateful to just, like, all right, I might enjoy this food, might enjoy this time with my friends, like, not worry about money. And, like, I really felt that I was like, I had the money. Like, I didn't I stopped thinking about the bills. Like, I just had, like, so, like,
the energy changed.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there was, like, a switch.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm abundant. Like, I got this, you know? And,
you are a powerful being.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, like, a week later, I met up. I saw the guy that did the meditation. His name is Javon. I saw him. We just passed each other at, like, the movie theaters.
Yeah.
And then he was like, oh, hey, by the way, you do videos, right? Like, I'm actually doing a meditation course. And he was like, oh, I need a videographer. And I was like, oh, shit. Like, yeah, I do that. And, you know, so I said yes to it. And then I was like, oh, shit, cool. Like, in my head, I'm like, all right, maybe I'll make a couple $100 here and there. And then when he followed up, like, a few days later, he was like, he told me, oh, this is what I need. And, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, oh, I need this many videos.
Yep.
And then, so in my mind, I was like, all right, I did the math. Like, all right, if you need this many, like, this is how much it's going to cost.
Right.
And then I was like, huh, is this too much? But I was just like, fuck it. Like, I just.
You're worth it.
Yeah, exactly. And I just sent.
You know the quality that you put out.
Exactly. And I just sent it to him, like, and then he was like, oh, cool, no problem. I was like, oh, shit, I should have asked for more. But then, but then it was like the exact same amount, like, not the exact number, but, like,
no shit.
How much money I needed to pay the bill for the next month, which is like, it's always, you know, like, it always kind of just works out.
Well, now this is where magic comes in.
Yeah.
Become aware of that process and start asking for very specific amounts. Like, and you will receive very specific amounts. You're already doing it, right? Yeah. So it's like when we did the plasma machine, and then you have to surrender the fucking outcome. Like, you have to surrender how to do it. Yeah. You're like, I'm going to let it go. I know I need this amount. I know it's going to come. I surrender. I don't even know how the fuck it is going to come to my life, but it just is. And it's just like, sure as shit, synchronicity, like, all happens, and you just run. It just literally all happens, and you run into this person, and it's that amount, right? And yeah, I think that there's just real power in recognizing that, like, being able to see, like, oh, that's a pattern. That's something that I can replicate. Like, that's something that if I can get like more curious and more curious about this, like, where can I take this? And then I think that's where, you know, magic and alchemy kind of, like, start to come in, because then you can take lead and turn it into gold, right?
Yeah.
And so you can turn any situation into something that is of benefit for you, in essence.